Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Rishabh Gulati. Ladies and gentlemen, as we near an inch closer to the first vote being cast in the election cycle of 2024, there are three things that are important. Number one has to be, what is the pulse of the people? The politicians want to know it, the candidates want to know it, the party chiefs want to know it, and you and I want to know it. For the past 1 month, we have done surveys pretty much right across the country. We have put together every possible question that we can to get the pulse of the people. And let us now, in one fell swoop, put all that information to your consumption as we head into this poll cycle. Starting off with the national capital in New Delhi. So we put a survey question to the people of Delhi. What is your biggest issue for the Lok Sabha elections? 23% said it's development, 14% said it's inflation, another 14% says it is corruption, 35% it's about jobs, and 11% said it's none of these things. So what's your biggest issue? Jobs was the biggest issue as per the respondents in Delhi. On what basis will you vote in the election? Will it be for party? Will it be for candidate, religion, or work? The significant majority, 63% of the people say that they will be voting on the basis of work that is being done. Religion, almost a non-existent factor. The candidate, only 1 in 10 really care about, and only 1 in 5 are worried about the party. Work is the criterion for voting. The third question that we asked the people of Delhi: how has the performance of Narendra Modi been as Prime Minister? Average, good, and very good, and can't say. 54% say it has been very good. 26% say good. 17% say average. So between good and very good, you're looking at an 80% approval rating for Narendra Modi as a Prime Minister from the residents of Delhi. Then, how will the Modi factor work in the Lok Sabha polls? In this context, the maximum amount of impact will be 55% say that the Modi factor is going to make a maximum amount of impact. The greatest very good impact. 25% say good impact, 16% say it's going to have an average impact on the Lok Sabha polls. Now, the final question from Delhi: who is the most deserving candidate from the opposition? 10% say Rahul Gandhi, only 3% say Mamata Banerjee, 21% say Arvind Kejriwal, 2% say Akhilesh Yadav, and 3% say Tejaswi. So out of all the others, with an 80% approval rating of Narendra Modi at the center, Arvind Kejriwal had a 22% part of the vote. Now, this is the questions asked. Now let's have a look when it comes to who do you think will form the government in 2024. 78% of those surveyed in Delhi says it will be the BJP and the NDA. Only 6% believe it will be the Congress and the India Alliance or allied parties. 3% says none of these two, it will be an alliance of regional parties. And 12% say, listen, we don't know. But have a look at that. 80% say the BJP is going to form the government in the nation as per the national capital of Delhi. And this is the D-Dynamics poll survey predicting of the 7 seats in Delhi: 6 for the BJP, 1 for the Aam Aadmi Party. Remember, these two are in a seat-sharing agreement of 4:3. The BJP had 7 out of 7 last time. They'll be hoping for the same. And the Aam Aadmi Party will be hoping to at least open their bank account where they're strong in the state but have been wiped out whenever a Lok Sabha election comes along. Now, that was the national capital. Let's move on as we traverse the course of North India state by state. Moving on to Haryana. What is the biggest issue in the Lok Sabha election for the people of Haryana? Again, 45% is say jobs. For about 13% it's corruption, 12% say inflation, and 20% say development is the biggest issue. 10% say none of these are the issues. The second question we asked to the people of Haryana: on what basis will you cast your vote? 60% near say on the basis of work. Only 1.5% feel religion is a factor. 15%, so a bit more, feel the candidate is important. And 21.5% say it's the party that is important. Question number 3, we asked the people of Haryana: what has been the performance of Narendra Modi? 46% in this case say very good, 36% say good. So overall figure of 82% between good and very good. When not so good, say 14%. So 82% approval rating of Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister out of Haryana. So will the Modi factor make an impact? What kind of impact? Average impact, no impact, good impact, very good impact? Well, 36% say major impact, 32% say important impact, 10% say slight impact, and about 14% say no impact at all. So once again, have a look at this. 78% of people saying major impact. Who do you think will form the government in 2024? Just over 68% say the NDA will form the government. Only 11% feel it will be the India alliance led by the Congress. 5% feels no Congress, no BJP. It will be an alliance of all the other regional parties. 14% undecided. Very interesting figure of 14% undecided. Can't say who's going to form the government. Very interesting figures there. And this is the survey that has come out of Haryana, where of the 10 seats, 8 the survey says of D-Dynamics going to the BJP, 2 it says are going to the Congress. The BJP, of course, hoping for 10 out of 10. The Congress will be hoping for at least 4 under Bhupinder Hooda over there. His son is contesting. Now, let's move on to our next state, which is the biggest state in the country when it comes to Lok Sabha, UP. Biggest issue is jobs, 45%, corruption, 12%, inflation, about 16%, and development, Vikas, 16%. In this case, 10% say none of these. So jobs, again, are the biggest issue here. The second question we asked the people of UP in this survey was, on what basis will you vote? On the basis of work, 60% say on the basis of performance. Only 1% say on the basis of caste, 10% say on the basis of candidate. 1 in 4 voters say the party is important. Now you can guess what they mean by party is important, but 60% say work is important, only 2% feel none of these factors are important in voting. So when that translates into the performance approval rating of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, 45% say very good, 36% say good. So you put these two figures together, once again above 80% approval rating, just under 19% give him an average rating, and less than 0.5% didn't have an opinion on Narendra Modi's performance. So again, an 80+% approval rating. So how does this translate on the Modi factor? 45% says yes, important impact on the elections. Just under 30% says reasonable impact on the elections. 16% say that the Modi factor will have an average impact on the elections, and only 6% say that there is no impact on Narendra Modi on this election. 3% can't say. Now, when this translates into the big question, who is going to form the government in 2024? The people of UP, in the vast majority, once again, of those surveyed, 74% nearly say NDA is coming to power. Just under 7% say India alliance. Just under 7% again say regional parties without Congress, BJP will form the government. And again, 12.8% don't have a view. Again, that's an undecided vote right there. Very interesting figure on our screen. So how does this tabulate in terms of the UP D-Dynamic poll survey? The prediction is 73 for the BJP, 2 for the RLD, 2 for the Apna Dal. This is an alliance. So that is 77 out of the 80 seats going towards the NDA. Only 3 for the Samajwadi Party, down from 5. The Congress, 0. So what does 0 mean? They had 1 last time. That 1 was Sonia Gandhi in Rai Bareli. So the poll survey says it's 0. That means Rai Bareli potentially is being lost. We don't know who the Congress candidate from there will be. The BSP, sitting at double-digit seats in the Lok Sabha in 2019, also projected to be at 0. Now, let's move this forward to the next state with the next survey. Biggest issue, says the people of Rajasthan. Have a look at this. For them, 34% say jobs, so it's still number 1. But again, 30% say it is development, Vikas is the major issue. 13% say inflation is a problem. 14 or just under 15% say corruption is a problem. And about 8% say none of these. So how does this translate in the second question when it comes to on what basis will you decide for a Lok Sabha election? Again, almost 50% of the people polled are saying it's on the basis of the work done. Only 1.4% say that caste matters. 15% say that candidate matters. And 1 in 3 of those surveyed says that yes, party is a factor. Party matters. And for about 1%, none of these are of any consequence. Narendra Modi approval rating out of Rajasthan. 53% say very good. Just under 30% say good. So once again, you're looking at an 80% plus, 83% approval rating for Narendra Modi as a Prime Minister. 16% consider his performance to be average or below. just 0.2% have no opinion on Modi. So everybody has an opinion and 83% say it is a favorable opinion. So is Narendra Modi the biggest factor in this Lok Sabha election? 55.6% say yes, 21% say important factor, 7.5% say it's a somewhat of a factor, 13% say no factor, and once again, only 2.8% over here don't have an opinion. So who's forming the government? 76% of the people polled, the same people, the same poll. So even those people who don't feel that Narendra Modi has had a performance to be approved of, the 18%, well, have a look at this, 75% still feel NDA is forming the government. Just 9% believe in the Congress-led India Alliance forming the government. 3.8% actually feel that none of the parties will be able to form a government. And 11% are the undecided. Very interesting figure again. 11% don't know, can't say. Now, when it comes to the D-dynamic poll, of the seats being contested in Rajasthan, 25 of them, 23 go to the BJP, 0 for the Congress, which was in power in the state just a few weeks ago, and 2 for the others. The Narendra Modi's team and the BJP will be looking for a clean sweep of Rajasthan once again in this election. The Congress will be hoping for better than 0 for sure under Gehlot. Remember, his own son, Vaibhav Gehlot, is contesting. They'll be hoping they can win at least a few seats. Now, let's move on to the next state coming up on our screens, which is Punjab. Not a traditional place for the BJP's historic performance in elections, both state and Lok Sabha. So what is the biggest issue? 50% say jobs and unemployment, 13% say corruption, 20% say inflation, only 11% in Punjab say development is the biggest issue, and for about 3%, it's none of these issues make a difference. Now, when it comes to what is the deciding factor on voting, 65% say we are going to vote on performance. Only 0.3% are interested in saying caste is a factor. 15% care about the candidate, and just under 18% care about the party. 2% think none of these matter when they'll be voting. Now, how does this translate to the popularity rating of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister? Have a look at how this has changed. The average vote in Punjab says 42%. So 27 say good performance, 20% say very good performance. So a near approval rating of 50%, the lowest one we've seen so far, with 42% giving an average performance rating. 10% do not have an opinion on Narendra Modi. This is the highest we've seen in any state in the country where they don't feel that they have an opinion on Narendra Modi. So, is Narendra Modi a factor in the Lok Sabha polls? In this case, 45% say yes. 45% in fact say no, it's not a factor. Have a look. What was for 3-4% in the other states. In here, 50%, 1 in 2 of people being polled says no. But on the other hand, about 35% say yes, either very important or important factor, and 10% feel that Narendra Modi will have a average level of impact on this election. 9%, 9.5% are undecided, can't say, don't have an opinion. So when it comes to forming the government, have a look at how it changes when the survey is done in Punjab. NDA, 34% say NDA government coming to power led by the BJP. 45% say India Alliance coming to power led by the Congress. 11.5%, a big chunk still believe that a non-Congress, non-BJP government will be formed at the center, and 8.5% undecided voters in Punjab. So how does this translate into the D-Dynamics poll survey? Well, it translates into the BJP says, it says 4, the Shiromani Akali Dal, a former ally, it says 2, the Aam Aadmi Party in rule in the state, it says 2, and the Congress, it says around 5. So 7 on this side. This is not a technical alliance, but potentially 6 on this side with 4 in the BJP. And that is the poll survey which has been done independently of the question-based survey. And they are indicating that Punjab is going to be a battleground state. Now, moving on to Madhya Pradesh. Biggest issue, 42% jobs, 11% corruption, 16% or near 17% feel inflation is a major issue. 24% say development work is the biggest issue. 6.5% say, no, these are not the issues. There are other issues which are more important. What is the basis of voting? On the basis of work done, 55% say the work matters. Only 1.3% say the caste matters. Just under 15% say the candidate matters. And almost 30%, 28.49% say the party matters when we are voting. Just under 1% feel none of these things matter while they're voting. So how does this translate to Narendra Modi's popularity rating, his performance rating? 45% say very good performance rating. 30% say good. Add that together, that's a near 76% approval rating for Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. 17% only feel that his performance has been average. 7% don't have an opinion on Narendra Modi, a rare thing these days, but they don't want to opine. So does it matter? About 49% say yes, Narendra Modi factor is a big issue in this election. 23% say an important issue in the election. 7% say that it is somewhat of an issue. And about 15.5% say it's not an issue at all. So the vast majority, which is 85% of the people in Madhya Pradesh, do feel, those who we've surveyed, that Narendra Modi is an important factor or more than average factor in this election. So who will form the government? Just under 70% feel that the NDA is coming to power in the center. About 21% feel it's the India Alliance led by the Congress. Just 1% actually believe a non-BJP, non-Congress third front government can be formed. And a 7.5% undecided, not sure, don't know who's going to form the government. Undecided voters right there. So what is the D-Dynamic poll survey saying? It is predicting a sweep for the BJP in Madhya Pradesh, 28 seats for them, a solitary single seat for the Congress party. Who is that? Is that Kamal Nath? We don't know. Let's move on to our next state as we traverse the course of India to Chhattisgarh, where the government has recently flipped. Biggest issue, 30% say jobs, 15% say corruption, 16% say inflation, 31% say development, Vikas is the biggest issue. 7% feel there are other things, could be security, could be other things. On what basis are you voting, people of Chhattisgarh? 54% say on the basis of the work done. Only 1.5% care about religion as a voting factor. 16.7% say the candidate is important. And 26% say the party is important. And of course, a minuscule amount feel none of these are important. Now, when it comes to translating this into the performance of Narendra Modi and his popularity rating, 54% say very good, 35% say good. This, ladies and gentlemen, takes you up to a total of near 90% approval rating for Narendra Modi in Chhattisgarh. Less than 10% give him an average rating and only 0.5%. So literally almost no one has no opinion. Almost everybody has an opinion on Narendra Modi. How will the Modi factor impact? 57% say big impact, very good impact. 24% say above average impact. So again, a total here north of 80%. Just 9% say that Narendra Modi factor is a minor factor. 8% say it's no factor at all. Again, very few have no opinion on this matter. So Narendra Modi, pretty much everybody has an opinion one way or the other. So who will form the government? 76% of the people of Chhattisgarh polled in this survey say NDA is coming to power in 2024. Just 9% say India Alliance. 1.75% say that is the third front. And again, 12% undecided, don't know, can't say, interesting, of swing vote over there. So how does this translate into the D-Dynamics poll? Well, 10 for the BJP, 1 for the Congress, a near sweep being predicted for the party being led by Narendra Modi as we speak. Let's move on to the next state as we traverse one after the other, both subjectively and objectively, qualitative and quantitative analysis. Biggest issue for the people of Andhra, a state that has been led by Jagan Mohan Reddy. 35% say jobs and unemployment, 11% say corruption, 10% say inflation is a problem, 34% say development is the key issue, 9% say something else, not these. Second question, how does then this translate into what basis people are voting for? 26% say work, but in the case of Andhra, 44% say party matters. Interesting. 25% say candidate matters. Only 2.5% feel religion is a matter, and 1.9% say none of these things matter. That's not their consideration while they are voting. So the translation on the performance rating of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, 50%, 1 and 2 voters in Andhra Pradesh says, very good job Narendra Modi. 22% say good job Narendra Modi, which means 72.5% approval rating for the PM himself as Prime Minister. 20% say average job. And just about 7% don't have an opinion. Interesting figure over there. Don't have an opinion or don't want to voice an opinion. How will the Modi factor impact the Lok Sabha polls? Near 50% people in Andhra Pradesh feel big impact. 15% feel sort of an impact. 20% feel average impact. About 10% of those polled in Andhra feel that Narendra Modi is not a factor. So minuscule minority, once again, 90% feel there is some factor or a very important factor. 4% don't have an opinion. So who's forming the government? People of Chhattisgarh, people of Andhra Pradesh, 1 and 2, 52.35% say NDA, 20% say India Alliance. But have a look at this. 25% are convinced that a third front, a non-Congress, non-BJP-led government can be formed. Interesting. Only 1% are undecided, don't have an opinion, can't say. So how does this translate into the dynamics on the ground poll survey? Well, in Andhra Pradesh, it is giving 2 to the BJP, 7 to Jagan Reddy, 14 to the TDP, and for the JSP 2, remember, 1, 2, 3 are in alliance. So for the NDA, you're looking at a figure of 18 and 7 for Jagan. That is the translation. So the people who are saying party is important and candidate is important seem to be thinking that Chandrababu Naidu is the party and candidate that is important in Andhra Pradesh. And of course, that fits into the logic of the BJP, which has gone into alliance with them. So now, let's move forward and get the qualitative analysis going from Maharashtra, major state. It's going to be a swing state. Complicated politics. I mean, the Shiv Sena has gone this way, the NCP has gone this way, parties are splitting. The traditional get-go of Maharashtra is no longer applicable in this election. So, biggest issue, 35% jobs and unemployment, 14% corruption, just under 19% think inflation, 25% say development vikas is the biggest issue, 7% say it's something other than this. Now, the translation into a vote factor, 61% say they will be voting on the basis of the work, performance. Only 1.5% say caste is a factor. About 17.5% care about the candidate. And about 18.5% think party is the main reason for voting. 1% don't have an opinion. Now, moving forward into the performance rating in Maharashtra of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. Very good, say 35.1%. Good, say 21%. So this is an approval rating of just under 57%. Just under 33% say average performance, and about 10% don't have an opinion. Interesting factor there. So the performance rating north of 50% once again for Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. Will Narendra Modi be a factor in the Lok Sabha polls? Big factor says 1 in 3, 37%. Reasonable factor says 21%. 16% say sort of a factor. And 23% say, so that's about 1 in 4 voters says, no, Narendra Modi is not a factor. 3 out of 4 voters believe that Narendra Modi is a factor. Only 2% in this case don't have an opinion. Now let's move forward to the big one. Who's forming the government? Have a look at this. The majority, 51%, but not the stupendous majority which we've seen, 77, 78%. 51% think NDA forming the government. 28% say India Alliance. 16% in Maharashtra still believing that a third front government might just come to power. Only 4% don't have an opinion. Undecided, can't say. How is this translating into the on-the-ground analysis in the D-Dynamics poll? It is telling you 16 for the BJP out of the sum total of 48 for Maharashtra, 7 for the Shiv Sena under Shinde, so 16 plus 7 in alliance. Ajit Pawar's a faction of the NCP gets 1. So put these two together, you get a figure of 24. The Congress gets 8, Uddhav Thackeray 9. He'll be thrilled if they get that kind of performance. Sharad Pawar holds on to 5 and a couple for the others. So put these seats together, you're having a near split of Maharashtra. So clearly this is emerging as a battleground states where seats can swing one way or the other, and the BJP will want to make the most out of Maharashtra for sure. That's how they get past 320, 330 as their figure. Now, when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir, biggest issue, 50% say jobs and employment is the biggest issue. 12% feel corruption is the biggest issue. Less than 10% think inflation is a problem. 20% feel vikas and development is a problem. And about 7% think other issues. And here, security and other issues can apply. But mostly people are thinking of jobs. What's the basis of voting? Performance. 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 61% say performance. 0.3% feel caste is an issue. 13% are worried about the candidate. And 1 in 4 voters surveyed is worried about the party. Hardly 0.3% think these don't matter. So this is pretty much everything, everybody in J&K, this is what they think actually matters. Narendra Modi performance rating from Jammu and Kashmir, including Jammu and Kashmir, 42% say very good, 22.9% say good. Put these two figures together and ladies and gentlemen, you get a 64%, near 66% approval rating of the Prime Minister, 2 out of 3 voters, 25% give an average rating and 9% don't have an opinion on Narendra Modi's performance. Is it a factor? Major factor, say 41%, sort of a factor, say 17%, impactful, say about 18%, and no factor, say about another 18%, 4% don't have an opinion on this question. Now, so finally, who do the people think are forming the government in India from Jammu and Kashmir? Almost 50% in Jammu and Kashmir think Narendra Modi's NDA is going to form the government. 27 are convinced that the India Alliance will form the government. 14% are convinced that it will potentially be somebody else, third front. And 8% don't have an opinion, undecided, can't say, not sure, hesitant. Very interesting figure there. But when it comes to the polls, how does it reflect in the dynamic poll on the ground? 2 for the BJP, assumably out of Jammu. 3 for the National Conference, assumably out of Kashmir. The Congress wiped out, Mehbooba Mufti wiped out, says the poll survey. Let's move on to the next survey of both the qualitative and the quantitative analysis. What's the biggest issue? This time in Gujarat, Narendra Modi's home state, 23% feel it's jobs, 14% feel it's corruption, 11% think inflation is a problem, 34% say Vikas is the main issue, 17% say no, something else, not this. So when it comes to the translation on voting factors, on what basis will a person be voting out of Gujarat in the general elections of 2024? They are coming and telling you work done 49%, performance. Only 0.3% are worried about religion as a factor, 13% worried about the candidate, 37% say party matters. We are going to vote for the party. So work done and party sweeps the show. 1% say these are not factors, so the majority of factors are covered. That's the reason people are voting. Performance rating of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, 54.2% say very good job Narendra Modi. 24% say good job Narendra Modi. So ladies and gentlemen, put the figures together between good and very good and you're getting a near performance rating of just under 80%, about 78% approval rating of Narendra Modi. 15% say average performance and 6% don't have an opinion on the performance of the Prime Minister. Now, so the translation, is Narendra Modi a major factor in the Lok Sabha elections? 55% say yes, major factor. 25% say yes, somewhat of a factor. 7% say sort of a factor. And 11% say no factor. So 89% of the people in Gujarat, in his home state, feel that yes, Narendra Modi is a factor in these elections along with performance and party and other issues. So who's going to form the government? Well, no surprises. Nearly 76% of the Gujaratis polled in this survey say it's going to be an NDA government. 18% are still holding on to the hope of an India Alliance government led by the Congress. Only 1.8% feel that some other third front can form the government. 4% undecided or can't say. Interesting, small figure over there. It's been larger in some states. But how is the prediction when it comes to converting all of these opinions into seats? Well, no surprises. The home state of Gujarat being predicted to be in a clean sweep zone for the Bharatiya Janata Party under Narendra Modi, who is a son of the soil from that state. Let's move on as we traverse through, again, as I keep mentioning, qualitative and quantitative analysis. What is a factor? This time, the people of Uttarakhand, Devabhoomi, 39% say jobs, 14% say corruption, 10% say inflation, 27% nearly say Vikas is a factor, 9% say these are not the factors, there are other issues. When it comes to what factor matters for the decision on voting, why do you go out to vote? 56% almost say we are going out to vote on the basis of performance, on the work done. 1.3% say religion is an issue. 13.8% say we are caring about the candidate. 27% feel that the party is the primary factor for voting. Only 2% feel that some other factor other than these are the issues for voting. Performance rating of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. Nearly 47% are saying very good, good job Narendra Modi. 25% are saying decent job Narendra Modi. 21% is on the other side saying not so good job. So a performance rating once again of, ladies and gentlemen, just over 71%. 71% approval rating of the Prime Minister, 21% are dissatisfied, just a couple of percent don't have an opinion. So what is the factor? Is Narendra Modi a factor? Big factor says about 19%. Sort of a factor, major factor says 20%. And 10% says, yeah, it is some of an impact. So once again, a Modi factor, vast majority feels, yes, Modi is a factor. Just a few percent say they either can't say or don't feel is a factor. Who's forming the government? 65% of the people feel it is the NDA forming the government. 25% still feel the Congress and India Alliance can form the government. Only 2.8% are holding out hope for a third front. 6% don't have an opinion. Very interesting. Undecided or don't want to say or can't say. Very interesting. The poll says clean sweep. 5 out of 5 seats for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Let's move on to the next big state as we traverse the course of our electoral poll cycle through this entire episode. What's the biggest issue in the Lok Sabha elections? This time we asked the people of Assam. Unemployment, say 1 in 3 voters. Corruption, only 7% are worried about corruption. Not a big issue in Assam. Inflation, 24%, highest yet, are worried about inflation. 25% are worried about Vikas and development. About 11% are worried about other issues other than these matters. Now, on what basis will you cast your vote? 57% say we will cast votes on the basis of performance, on work done. Less than 0.5% or less than 1% feel religion is a factor. 16% are worried about the candidate. Almost 25% feel the party is the primary reason for casting the vote. Again, these 4 factors seem to cover the most of it. Only 1.7% say there are other issues in which they cast their vote for. Narendra Modi performance rating, look at this figure, 25.2% say very good, very good job Narendra Modi. 38% say good job Narendra Modi. Just under 29% say not so good a job. So look at these figures, it's giving you a near 63-64% approval rating of the Prime Minister, 28% dissatisfied, just a few percent don't have an opinion. So is Narendra Modi a factor in the Lok Sabha elections? 29% nearly are saying yes, big factor. 31% say yes, somewhat of a factor. 20% say sort of a factor. And about 15% say no factor whatsoever. 3% or just under 4% don't have an opinion on this. When it comes to who's forming the government, the majority of the people in Assam feel NDA is coming to power, 54%. 28% feel is the Congress-led India Alliance. Big, near double here. But 10%, 1 in 10 voter in Assam is holding out hope for a third front. Very interesting figure there. 7% can't say, 7.5% undecided, can't say, don't want to say. Very interesting figure. Badruddin Ajmal, Congress Party, UPPL, AGP, BJP. Where is it going for Assam's 14 seats? The survey of D-Dynamics say 9 for the BJP, 2 for the AGP, 1 for the UPPL, 1 for the Congress. Which one? Who is this one? Is it Gaurav Gogoi? Who knows? And Badruddin Ajmal holds on to 1 seat. Remember, war of words that has been going on between him and Himanta Biswa Sarma, Chief Minister of the state of the Bharatiya Janata Party. That's the breakup of the quantitative poll that has been done in Assam. Let's move on to Meghalaya. Biggest election issue, 41% say jobs and employment, 11.5% say corruption, 14.5% say inflation, 22.5% say development, Vikas, 10% feel other issues, not this. It could be other matters. Like I said, security is amongst one of them. On what basis will you cast your vote? 42% say work matters. For less than 1/3% caste matters. Nearly 17% are worried about the candidate. Nearly 40% feel party matters. Now, which party? That's the interesting one. There are 2 major parties in the state, Congress and of course Conrad Sangma's NPP. How has Narendra Modi performed? Performance rating of the Prime Minister, the very good figure is just under 18%, but the good figure, the neutral figures are telling you that roughly 70% of the people are giving a neutral opinion on Narendra Modi, neutral to positive, 18% are thumping positive, and 12%, 13% not happy or don't want to comment on this. So approval rating heading towards 65-70% who are happy or very happy. Is he a factor? 19% say yes, big factor. 30% say sort of a factor, a reasonable factor. 31% say maybe a factor. 15% say not a factor. So once again, you can just see state after state, even in a place where the BJP is not the strongest performer, people think Narendra Modi is one of the principal factors of this election. Only 4% feel otherwise. So who do you think will form the government? Much closer here. 2 seats in Meghalaya. 44% say NDA. 41% say Congress-led India Alliance. 11%, still think third front has a chance. 3.3% only undecided, can't say. So this is going to go one way or the other in terms of the predictions, because the undecideds are very little in the survey, and the Congress and the NPP over here. His sister Agatha is standing from Tura once again. 1:1 from Meghalaya as we move on to our next state. To get a perspective on the qualitative analysis from Goa, 2 seats up for grabs. The BJP has been dominating both. Biggest Lok Sabha election factor, 32% nearly say jobs, 14.5% say it is corruption, 15.5% say inflation, 25% say Vikas, development, 13% say no, something else. What is the voting factor? Well, 55% are saying it is performance. 1.8% are saying caste. Just over 18% say candidate matters. And for 25%, 1 in 4 voter, they are voting on the basis of party lines. 1.3% don't have an opinion or think is something else. Now, Narendra Modi performance rating, have a look at this. 35% saying very good, 25% saying good. So good to very good average performance rating of Narendra Modi is north of 60%. 25% give him a neutral mark. So put it together, 85% either satisfied, happy or very happy. 15% either can't say or dissatisfied with the scenario under the Prime Minister of the BJP. How will the Modi factor impact the Lok Sabha elections? Regardless of the previous question, 35% say major impact, 25% say minor impact, 15% say sort of the impact. So even in Goa, Narendra Modi major factor, no surprises. 23% say so. Just under 1 in 4 people feel in Goa, not much of a factor. 1.4% don't have an opinion or can't say on this issue. So translation, who's forming the government? Slightly tighter in Goa, 44% convinced NDA, 40% say India Alliance. Remember, Goa has a lot of regional parties as well, which have reasonable vote share to skew an election, at least at the state level. We find out at the national level very shortly. 5.5% still hoping on to hope of a third front. And 9% undecided, don't want to say, can't say, haven't made up their minds. Very interesting there. The translation on the ground in terms of seat share as per the D-Dynamics poll says 2 out of 2 for the Bharatiya Janata Party. One, of course, a veteran, a member of parliament who's won multiple times competing for the party from Goa. Now let's move on to the next state, Karnataka, big one, battleground state, potentially a swing state in this election. Biggest issue, jobs. Second biggest, corruption, inflation. Significant number of people feel inflation is a problem. And 30% are telling you Vikas, development, is their primary issue. 11% think it's something else. When it comes to voting factors, 51% of those surveyed in Karnataka say it's performance. Only 1% say it's caste. 9% say the candidate matters. And for almost 40%, it's the party that matters. That's what who they'll be voting for. Almost no one feels it's some other issue. Narendra Modi performance rating, very good Narendra Modi, say 30% of those polled in Karnataka. Good Narendra Modi, say 42%. That's an approval rating of 72% for Narendra Modi. 19% would give him an average rating, and 9% either can't say or are not satisfied. Now, in translating to the work done of the Modi factor, which we've just run, 34% say important, 37% say sort of important, 12% say average, 16% say not much of a factor. Narendra Modi doesn't really matter in the election. Other issues, party, candidate, local issues matter more. Only 1% don't have an opinion. And the big question, of course, who do they think is winning? 2 out of 3 of those surveyed, 64% feel NDA is forming the government at the center. Look at the margin difference. 27% feel it's the India Alliance, 5% still think it's a regional party. Maybe the supporters of the JDS are hoping that they can form a government as a third front. 4% do not have an opinion, undecided, can't say. The D-Dynamics poll tells you that the BJP potentially working with the JDS, 24 seats, the Congress on its own, 4. Even though it's in government in the state, the Congress will be hoping for a double digit in Karnataka for sure. The BJP needs to hold on to every single seat in Karnataka. They are at a 305 mark at the center. They want to hold on to every seat and improve, not the other way. 28 seats in total in Karnataka. Moving on to the next state, in Kerala, as we head further south. Biggest issue, jobs, 41%. 11 say corruption. Only 8% feel it's inflation. 30% say Vikas and development is on the top of their minds. 10% think there are other issues. As a voting factor, what's the factor? Work done, performance, 36%. Only, 1% feel it's caste. 23%, so 1 in 4 do feel the candidate is important, but nearly 40% say the party is important. 3% don't have an opinion or think something else is important other than these factors. Narendra Modi performance rating in Kerala, where remember the BJP has not had a footprint. That's where Rahul Gandhi has gone to contest from in Wayanad. 1 in 4 Keralite surveyed says Narendra Modi has done a very good job. 1 in 3 Keralite polled says Narendra Modi has done a good job. The remaining 40% say average job. So look at this, 56% approval rating for the Prime Minister in Kerala, where everybody under the sun says that the BJP is going to have a poor performance. Well, that's an eye-opener right there. So is Narendra Modi a factor? 22% say big factor, 25% say moderate factor, 18% say sort of a factor. So once again, majority of the people say, yeah, Narendra Modi is a factor, even in Kerala. This figure, 31% says no. 1 in 3 say not a factor, even though we feel he's done an okay job, but that's not what we're voting for. Just a couple of percent feel that this doesn't matter. They don't have an opinion. So who's forming the government? Have a look at this. 1 in 3 in Kerala, NDA. 51% still convinced Congress can lead the India alliance to power in the center. 5% are still convinced. Maybe some left voters right there, because the left is not in alliance with Congress in Kerala, are hoping that there can be a third front government. And about 9% don't have an opinion, undecided, can't say. Quantitative analysis on the ground of the seats, 20 from Kerala, the LDF getting 4, the UDF, remember complication here, Congress, UDF, I'll do the breakup for you, 3, 11 for the Congress out and out, and 2 for the BJP. They'll be thrilled if they open their bank balance, vote balance in Kerala, and of course improve upon a vote share as well. That's the figure from Kerala, eye-opening state to discuss. Now, Tamil Nadu, as we move to the west of Kerala, what's the biggest issue? 37% people say unemployment and jobs, 19% feel corruption, only 7% are worried about inflation, 25% say Vikas, 1 in 4 say Vikas, 12% have other issues on their mind as they cast the vote. What's the basis of voting? 35% say performance, less than 1% are worried about caste, 16% say the candidate is important, but nearly 1 in 2 voter in Tamil Nadu is telling you party is important. Now, which party? DMK party? BJP? Who knows? We're about to find out. Performance rating. Once again, we are told Narendra Modi not a factor in Tamil Nadu. Well, what do the people surveyed say? 1 in 4 person polled, surveyed in Tamil Nadu says very good job Narendra Modi has done. 1 in 5 says good job. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is a 48% good or very good rating, and 36% have a neutral opinion. Not so bad. And it's the other 16% who are dissatisfied or don't want to say or can't say on what is going on. So will it be a factor? Regardless, 21% of those surveyed in Tamil Nadu, yes, feel Narendra Modi is a major factor in the polls. 26% say sort of a factor. 19% say yes, maybe impactful. 30%, 1 in 3 say no, Narendra Modi is not the factor, we've got other issues to worry about. About 5% don't have an opinion on this. So who's forming the government as for the people of Tamil Nadu surveyed? 31% say 1 in 3, believe it or not, in Tamil Nadu, 1 in 3 surveyed is saying that the NDA is coming to power. No surprises. that in a DMK stronghold, 54% are thinking that their alliance will come to power in the center. 10% are still hoping on a third front, and 5%, just 5%, don't have an opinion, can't say, maybe undecided. Translation on the ground, DMK dominating, no surprises. The BJP wants a surprise. This will be a pleasant surprise. Maybe a couple of more will make it more pleasant, maybe earth-shattering. The Congress hoping it goes like it did the last time around, which is where these figures are roughly matching. The AIA-DMK is struggling this time around. They don't have a partnership with the BJP on their own, and of course don't have the face of Jayalalitha, depending on how they can perform, and a few other regional parties coughing up about 4 seats out of the seats in Tamil Nadu, 39. Remember the other, of course, 1 seat in Puducherry as well. What is the biggest issue in the Lok Sabha election in Jharkhand? 48%, 1 in 2 people surveyed feel jobs is the biggest issue. 11% are worried about corruption. 14% are worried about inflation. 20% say Vikas development is the biggest issue. And 7% say no, other matters, security, other things could be a major issue. On what basis will you vote? 61% say performance. 1% in Jharkhand, 1%. Heavy tribal state, only 1% feel caste is a problem. Or caste is an issue. 13% are focusing on the candidate, 22% are focusing on the party, about 3% don't have an opinion on this. So Narendra Modi's performance rating in Jharkhand, where the JMM, remember, is in government, and Soren, of course, the Chief Minister, has recently faced a lot of jail troubles. Very good, says the performance rating of the people of Jharkhand for the Prime Minister, 31% of them. Good, says 41%, 72% approval rating of the Prime Minister, 21% will give him pass marks, and 7% either are dissatisfied or can't say. So the translation of is Narendra Modi a factor in the election? 30% say yeah, big factor. 35% say sort of a factor. 13% say matters. 19% say no factor. That's just under 1 in 4 voters. 3% don't have an opinion on Narendra Modi. Just 3. What do you think about government formation? Again, majority feel NDA is coming to power. 29% say India alliance will form. 5% are still hoping on a third front. And about 6% undecided. Don't want to say, can't say. Interesting chunk, maybe up for grabs in the last mile of the election. What is the translation? Sweep, says the D-Dynamic poll in Jharkhand for the Bharatiya Janata Party. 12-0 for the Congress, and Hemant Soren holding on to 1 seat. Now, moving on to the next state, putting this perspective together is in Telangana, the neighboring state. So, what's the biggest issue? 39% say unemployment is the biggest issue. 13% say corruption. 10% say inflation, 30% say it's Vikas, 7% have other issues on their mind. How is this translating into voting factors? 28% want to vote on the basis of performance. 2% say religion matters, that's their primary voting issue. 23% say candidate matters, 1 in 4, not bad. 46%, 1 in 2 people in Telangana will be voting for party. Which party? Congress has come to power. The BRS, the former TRS, is not in power. The BJP is looking to increase vote share. Narendra Modi performance rating in Telangana, a state which has just been won by the Congress. Look at this. 1 in 2 persons surveyed in Telangana gives Narendra Modi a nearly very good performance rating. 1 in 4 says good. Put these two figures together, 73% approval rating for Narendra Modi in Telangana as Prime Minister. 21% say okay job, and about 4% are either dissatisfied or can't say. Now let's open up when it comes to Modi as a factor in the elections. 51% say big factor, 7% say sort of a factor, 10% say maybe matters, 16% say no factor at all, 3% don't have an opinion on Narendra Modi's factor in the polls. So who's going to form the government? Look at this, Telangana, Congress government in the state. 65% feel NDA is going to form the government. 28% still feel, nearly 1 in 3, that Congress can lead the India alliance to the center. Only 4% convinced it can be a third front. Just under 3% don't have an opinion. So not much of a swing vote. Sort of already pre-decided numbers there. 17 seats in Telangana, 8 for the Congress, says the D-Dynamics poll, 5 for the BJP, 3 for the BRS, and Asaduddin Owaisi holds on to his seat in Hyderabad, says the poll survey. Let's move on to the next state of Odisha. Naveen Patnaik in power in the state. Biggest issue, 43% say job, 12% say corruption, 9% say inflation, 24% say vikas, 10% have other issues on their mind. On what basis are you voting? On work done, performance, 52%. Only 1% think religion is their primary voting issue. 20%, big chunk, 1 in 5, worried about the candidate. And 1 in 3, nearly 27%, think party is the primary issue for casting their vote. In terms of the performance rating of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, 33% are giving a shabash, good job. 35% are giving a pat on the back. 23% are giving a pass mark. 33 plus 35, ladies and gentlemen, or just north of that, is giving you a performance rating of near 69% for in Odisha, where the BJP is not in power in the state. 7% don't have an opinion on Narendra Modi. So is it a factor? Is Narendra Modi a factor? Yes. 68% of the people in Odisha, those surveyed, feel big factor or important factor. 16% say minor factor. 13% feel no factor at all. 2% don't have an opinion on this. So when it comes to who do you think is forming the government, even in the stronghold of the BJD, 55% feel the NDA is coming to power. Remember, there is no official alliance between Naveen Patnaik and the NDA. Just 5% feel that the Congress-led India alliance will come to power. And you can imagine big chunk of Naveen Babu supporters over here who are convinced that a third front doesn't require the BJP in Congress, can still form the government. 3% don't have an opinion. Undecided, can't say. How is this translating? Total seats 21. State also going to elections. BJP 14, BJD 7. Congress, says the poll, 0. The BJP will be happy with those numbers. Naveen Patnaik will be happy to send a few Lok Sabha MPs. Of course, he'll be happier to win the state elections as well. Moving on to West Bengal, another major battleground state. Biggest issue, 43% say jobs and employment, 22% say corruption, 9% say inflation, 19% say vikas. Look at this corruption issue, which is shot up in those surveyed. So it is a factor for 1 in 4 voters. 6.5% don't have an opinion. What's the basis of voting? Performance, say 60% of Bengalis. Only 1.5% say religion is their primary voting motivation. 10% say the candidate is their primary voting motivation, and 30% say it's the party. But which one, TMC or BJP? Because the Congress seems to be struggling. We don't know how they're going to perform in the state. Narendra Modi performance rating in Bengal, the home ground of Mamata Banerjee, the hope of the India Alliance and the opposition. Look at this. 1 in 3 Bengali surveyed says, Shabash, Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. Another 1 in 3 says, good job. 28% say, okay, not so bad. And only less than 9% will give him a poor or don't have an opinion on this. So is it a factor? Is Modi a factor in the elections? 17% say no, he's not a factor. 32% say major factor. 30% say good factor. 17.5% say sort of a factor. So even here, 63% of those surveyed in Bengal feel Narendra Modi is a major factor, for or against, but major factor in the polls. So who's winning? Look at this. Sort of predictable, but 55% of those surveyed in Bengal feel that the NDA is going to form the government at the center. Just under 9% feel that the Congress-led India Alliance, look at the difference in the gap here. Less than 9% feel that the Congress can lead a government at the center, but 1 in 3 feel that a third front can form the government at the center. You can imagine a chunk of Mamata Banerjee loyalists over here. 2.5% only don't have an opinion. So a lot of the vote is already pre-decided. Not much of a swing vote here. 42 seats. Big state is Bengal. This is the figure as we speak. 22 for the BJP, says the D-Dynamic poll. 19, the Congress won. Which one? Is it Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary? We don't know. This figure was roughly the opposite last time around. So neck to neck in Bengal, swing state, battleground state. Make a note of this for the election cycle, which is beginning, of course, in Bengal, in Kuch Bihar, where the polls kick off in just a couple of days. What's the biggest election issue in Bihar? 47% say jobs, 12% say corruption, 14% are worried about inflation, 22% say vikas is the primary voting factor. What is the translation of this when it comes to what are the factors people vote for? 61% say performance is their primary criterion. 1.5% feel religion is their primary criterion. 30% say candidate, and about 1 in 4 voter surveyed is saying party is the reason I vote. Only 1% or less than 1% don't feel any of these are factors. In Bihar, lots of political dynamic changes. Government has flipped 3 times in 5-6 years. Well, look at this. Narendra Modi's approval rating, 36% say good job, a very good job. 28.5% say good job. 26% will give him a passing mark. About 10% unhappy or don't want to comment. So look at the approval rating. Again, ladies and gentlemen, north of 75%. Is Narendra Modi a factor? 38.49% of the people of Bihar say yes, big factor. 1 in 4 says good factor, important factor. 15% says yes, it will have an impact. 20% say no factor at all. 1.7% don't have an opinion on Narendra Modi at this point of time in Bihar. So who's forming the government? In Bihar, major battleground state, was under opposition rule up until a few months ago. Well, 60% of those surveyed in Bihar feel the NDA is coming to power. 24% say no, Congress-led India alliance. 10% nearly convinced it can be a third front still, hanging on to hope. And 6.6% undecided, don't have an opinion, can't say. The D-Dynamics poll is telling you that the BJP is taking 70 out of the 40. The JDU Nitish is also bagging 11. The LGP is bagging 5. This is the obvious alliance. So put 33 into that kitty. Jitin Ram Manjhi is going to take 1. The Congress holding on to 2. The RJD, according to this poll, having a shocking performance with only 3. And others taking 1. 40 seats. Interesting battleground in Bihar. Very interesting. Moving on to Himachal, a state where the Congress has come to power. They just about won, but a win is a win. They've seen cross-voting recently in the Rajya Sabha polls. What do the people say? Unemployment is the biggest issue for the people of Himachal at 46%. Corruption at 8%. 17% are worried about inflation. 20% say development, vikas is the big issue. 9% think something else is a major issue. What's the basis of voting? Performance, say 56%. 0%, not one person surveyed felt caste was the primary voting factor. About 13% feel yes, candidate matters. 1 in 3, 30% say party is the primary reason we vote. Only 1% felt that these are not their issues of voting. Narendra Modi performance rating, ladies and gentlemen, between good and very good, it's a straight round figure of 70%. 22% will give him passing marks, and about 8% are either disappointed, let down, or don't have an opinion. So what's the factor of Narendra Modi? Once again, a big chunk of change here. 67% feel big factor or a major factor. 12% feel sort of a factor. 19% feel no factor at all. They're not voting on the basis of Narendra Modi's performance. The vast majority say they are. Who do you think will form the government? In Himachal, Congress-ruled state, 61% say NDA. 29% say Congress-led India alliance. Only 2% feel the third front can come to power, and 8% undecided, don't know, can't say. Interesting figure over there. Bit of a swing vote. What's the prediction? Sweep, says the dynamic poll for the BJP in Himachal. 4 out of 4 seats. Remember, you have interesting battles, Vikramaditya versus Kangna going on in this state as we speak. Now, moving on to the tabulation out of Ladakh, where we have just done the quantitative survey. There's a single seat being held by the BJP. Says the survey that yes, the BJP will retain the seat. A lot of protests have happened in Ladakh. You had Sonam Wangchuk protesting. So there is an issue about full statehood of the state, other issues. But the poll says the BJP is likely to hold on to the seat despite all the agitations taking place. In Manipur, again, lots of issues that have happened there. 2 seats up for grabs, the Congress taking 1, the NPF taking the other 1. The BJP not expected to win a seat out of Manipur. When it comes to Mizoram, just 1 seat, and the regional party, the ZPM, is expected to win that particular seat. Now, moving on to Nagaland, again, just 1 seat. The BJP not much of a factor here. The NDPP expected to take it. What happens in a post-poll scenario, we will find out, of course, only once the elections are over. Sikkim, again, 1 seat, where the regional party, the SKM, is supposed to take it in the quantitative poll that we've done in the state. In Tripura, 2 seats. Narendra Modi has been campaigning aggressively there in the last phase of the campaign. Well, have a look at this. 2 out of 2 says the D-Dynamics poll heading the way of the Bharatiya Janata Party. So how is this all going to translate in other union territories? Daman and Diu and Dadra Nagar and Haveli, 2 union territories, 1 seat each. The BJP expected to take both as per the D-Dynamics poll out of these union territories. Now, Lakshadweep, the other union territory, well, the candidate this time is fighting under the umbrella of NCP. Sharad Pawar faction is expected to win. The BJP not expected. They'll be hoping that with the PM's visit and development work, some vote share will improve for them. But Andaman in the Bay of Bengal, the BJP expected to win that seat. The Congress being expected to lose as per the survey. And Puducherry, well, single seat, and the BJP is expecting to win that seat also, adding up to the tally from the south for them, which they're hoping will be a better performance since last time around. Okay, so how does this all tabulate up when it comes to the poll of polls? All the polls, every single poll done by every single agency, this is the final average figure. 333 just for the BJP. They were sitting at 305 after 2019 elections ended. So a boost of 28 seats for the BJP says all the polls mean average. 45 for the Congress, exactly where they are, say all the polls conducted so far. 23 for the DMK, exactly where they are, say all the polls. 20 for the TMC, almost exactly where they are, say all the polls. 6 for the Aam Aadmi Party, huge improvement, 1, then went down to 0. 6 for the Aam Aadmi Party, say 3 for the Samajwadi Party. They were sitting at 5 last time around. I'll do the tabulation shortly. Let's look at the next set of parties as we head across the country. So this is the poll of polls. Jagan, average is saying 13, so some are giving them a very good performance, retaining the seat. BJD at 10, JDU at 13. Look at that, Nitish Kumar, if he gets 13 seats, he'll be thrilled. TDP making a comeback once again. The average poll of polls, our survey gives him north of 14. The average survey gives him 11. So Chandrababu Naidu for sure is a factor in these elections. And the others, all the other parties, the Northeast, regional parties, National Conference, all the others putting together account for 66. That, ladies and gentlemen, is 543, 272 being halfway mark. It takes 273 to form a government. So what's the comparison? I mentioned this, the BJP around the 303, 304 mark last time around. 333 plus 30. The Congress down 7. The TMC down a couple. The DMK exactly where they were. The Aam Aadmi Party up 5. The Samajwadi Party down a couple. The Jagan Mohan Reddy's YSRCP down 9. The BJD potentially down a couple. The JDU down a couple or down 3. The TDP up 8 plus 8. Big chunk of change there. And the others down 18 to the benefit of the Bharatiya Janata Party. This is the comparison of the poll of polls. Ladies and gentlemen, we've taken you through a qualitative analysis, a quantitative analysis of every single statistical pulse that we could possibly bring you. You are now fully up to date on what is going on in terms of the survey taking that we can all put together for you. What you'll finally do, we'll find out shortly. Thanks for watching.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.